It depends what you mean when you say aligned. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, it's not very accurate. The organs require prana to function properly, or life energy, or ki, or chi, or ruah, or mana. You notice a pattern where people say, I'm really stressed, and at the same time, their digestive system is messed up.
Welcome to The Search for Wellness, a podcast dedicated to discovering the path to a healthier, more fulfilling life. Join us on this heartfelt journey as we share inspiring stories, insightful conversations, and practical tips to nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Today I'd like to introduce a special guest, Sagar, and he's going to actually introduce himself today.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Puja. Thank you for having me. My name is Sagar. I am a pranic healer for several years now. And in addition to that, I run a football program for kids called Diamond FC.
Nice. Yeah. And how many years have you been a pranic healer for?
I learned pranic healing in 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's a very long time now. You've been doing it for 14 years then.
The interesting thing is, when I learned pranic healing, I was never really interested in the healing part. Right? I was more interested in the meditation practices and the spiritual aspect of it. So I haven't been healing for 14 years. I've been healing for slightly fewer than that, but I've been within the system for about 14 years.
And when you say pranic healing, what is pranic healing?
The easiest and the simplest way I can explain it is we have a physical body. We also have an energy body, right? And many people call this energy body the aura, right? Sometimes you interact with someone and you're like, man, I just got a good feeling about this person. This person has such a good vibe or aura, right? Now this aura or energy body has a very close relationship to the physical body. And one affects the other. So if the aura or the energy body is imbalanced, and if it remains imbalanced over a period of time, the physical body will fall sick or have problems. So in pranic healing, we treat this energy body. And as you treat the energy body, the physical body gets healed as well. Within this, and I think this is something which a lot of people are interested in, is this idea of chakras, right?
Yeah.
So within the energy body, you have the chakras. And the chakras have a direct relationship with all the organs in the body. So you have a chakra which controls and energizes every single organ. So by treating those chakras, you're able to directly influence the condition of the organs and bring healing to the organs.
Interesting. Yeah. Would you so how many chakras? Would you just go a bit deeper into the chakras? How many chakras do we have? Because I don't think everyone knows about chakras.
Yeah, so in the pranic healing system, we talk about 11 chakras.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A lot of the yoga texts talk about the 7 chakra system. And there's a reason they talk about the 7 chakra system. From a meditation, spiritual perspective, the 7 chakra system is adequate. From a healing perspective, the 7 chakra system is not adequate. We need to know a bit more than the 7 chakras to be able to heal the different systems of the body, right? So we talk about 11 chakras. For instance, in the 7 chakra system, they don't talk about a chakra which is behind the navel, right? This chakra is called the main chakra.
Okay.
The 7 chakra system doesn't talk about it, but in the pranic healing system, it's a very important chakra because it controls and regulates the blood pressure of a person.
Oh.
So from a healing perspective, it's very important.
And then which is the other extra ones?
There's a few others. For instance, there's one in the middle of the forehead, which controls the nervous system. Most of the yoga systems talk about the root chakra, but they don't talk about the sex chakra, which controls the reproductive system. Right.
So that's between the root chakra and the second chakra, right?
Actually, the root chakra is at the back. It's at the base of the spine, and the sex chakra is at the front. It's in the pubic region.
Ah, right. And obviously, the chakras are not in one line, right? They're not straight. They're almost like
What do you mean?
move in a. So my mom, like this is what I've learned from my mom about the chakras and stuff, is that it's it's to do with the Fibonacci sequence. So even with the way the chakras move, it's actually in a Fibonacci sequence. So they don't actually move in a secular motion. They move in the same Fibonacci sequence. And the same way that they go up our body is almost like a spiral. So they're not like stacked on top of each other. Like they're not in a straight line against our spine, but they could be like in different shapes.
Okay, that's not how we're taught in the Pranic healing system. In the Pranic healing system, the chakra is actually attached to a central energy system. We call this the central meridian. The chakra is actually attached into the central energy system, and the chakras are like cone shaped, right? Yeah. So you have a part of the chakra which is outside the body. For instance, we have a throat chakra. Part of the chakra will be outside of my body, and then it'll be like a cone, and then part of the chakra will be inside my body, and the root of the chakra will connect to the central energy channel.
And could the cone be coming out from the back too?
So you have some chakras which have a front and a back, and then, like for instance, you have the heart, where you have the front heart, and then you have the back heart. So it's one chakra with 2 entry points, and then some chakras are just on one side.
And do you believe that it's important to have these chakras aligned?
It depends what you mean when you say aligned.
Yeah,
right?
because you always hear that term. You always hear someone say, "Oh, your chakras are not aligned," or "You're off balance."
Yeah, and I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, it's not very accurate. Okay?
Yeah.
The chakras are always aligned, meaning they are always along the central energy system, right? So the chakras are always aligned. If they came off the central energy system, there would be a serious problem, if not death.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, what people usually mean when they say alignment of chakras, they refer to what we call the activation of the chakras. So the functional capacity of the chakras, right? The chakras have a certain functional capacity, which is the size of the chakra, right? So when the chakra is imbalanced, what people usually mean is it's either too small or too big.
Oh, right. Okay. So you're basically not using the full potential of your chakra.
Exactly.
And if each chakra is connected to, say, an organ or your blood pressure or your central nervous system, then you're actually disconnecting yourself from that physical.
So you see, the organs require prana to function properly, or life energy, or ki, or chi, or ruah, or mana, whatever you want to call it.
But everything requires energy to function, right?
Yeah, so this is this life energy. Now, all the organs require this life energy, and the organs get this life energy from the chakras. So just to give you an example, you have the throat chakra, right? In the neck area, just at the back, you have the thyroid gland, right? Which is a very important gland for the body. So the throat chakra will absorb prana from the environment, and then it will distribute the prana to the thyroid gland, which will revitalize and energize the thyroid gland, right? Without that prana going to the thyroid gland will malfunction over time. Now, if for various reasons the throat chakra starts to malfunction, then inadequate amount of prana will reach the thyroid gland, which over time will cause the thyroid gland to malfunction, right? So now you see the relationship between the energy body and the physical body, right? Just to give you another example, right? You have a chakra here called the solar plexus.
Solar plexus, yeah.
the solar plexus controls and regulates the digestive system.
Yeah.
Right? At the same time, the solar plexus is very sensitive to stress. Okay? So, if someone is experiencing a lot of stress, then what happens is the solar plexus starts to malfunction. When the solar plexus starts to malfunction, the digestive system starts to malfunction. And so you notice a pattern where people say, I'm really stressed, and at the same time, their digestive system is messed up. Right? So again, you see the relationship between the energy body and the physical body.
And there's also that whole gut feeling. I have a gut feeling, and that comes from your solar plexus. Your intuition also comes from your solar plexus?
There is debate around that, right? Yeah. In the pranic healing system, when we are taught about the aspect of gut feeling, it actually comes from your navel chakra,
okay,
right? Which is in your belly button region. And you can relate that to, for instance, martial artists, right? Martial artists train their navels a lot, right? But if you look at the way a martial art fight takes place, it's based on instincts, right? You don't have the time to analyze, oh, there's a punch coming at me at this speed, you'll be knocked out.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a strong instinctual aspect to it, which is what people call intuition, right? But even with intuition, there are different levels of intuition.
Yeah, because obviously there is the intuition that you feel in your body,
yeah,
and also there is the intuition that you would feel in your organs,
yeah,
and maybe there's the intuition that you'll feel in your mind,
yes,
right? I'm sure there's different levels of
multiple
intuition.
Levels.
That's really interesting to know. Can you tell me so when we talk about pranic healing, what happens? Like, what do you do? Like, walk us through like a session of pranic healing.
Okay, so the first thing is someone will call me,
okay,
right? And they will say, I have so and so condition, this is my desired outcome, right? Then I will say, okay, I think pranic healing can help you, or I think pranic healing will not help you, okay? And then I would say, okay, my recommendation is these are the number of sessions you may require, either to see complete relief or symptomatic changes, right? And then the person would agree or disagree, and then if they agree, we would schedule a healing session, and in between that, they would fill out a form where they would provide all their important information,
okay,
right? Which gives me a chance to understand exactly what's going on,
yeah,
and review the protocol for that particular condition.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I would have the healing session with the person. The first thing we would do is
Is it a physical healing, or could it be a remote?
It's both. It could be both.
Okay.
Right. And we can go into that. But the first thing I would do is I would do an energy scan, right? Which means I would energetically diagnose the person's energy condition, right? And would be able to determine where the imbalances are in the aura and in the chakras, right? And then pursue the treatment based on that, right? And a treatment could last anything between 45 minutes to an hour for chronic conditions.
And how many sessions would you say like a person needs?
It depends, right? If it's a simple condition, one session. If it's a mild psychological or mild illness or an infection, maybe 3 to 5 sessions. If it's a chronic condition which the person has been having for a long time, then the time increases, right? So for instance, hypertension could be 1 month, 3 times a week. Things like diabetes could be 2 to 3 months, 2 to 3 times a week. So as the condition is more serious and long-standing, then you need more treatments.
So, like, let's say, I'll give you an example. If I said I wanted to come to you and I wanted to see you because, or like, let's give it an example about my daughter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
She's injured herself,
Yeah.
and you will see her today, but then
if she's okay, then she doesn't need to see you again. But let's say in maybe 2 months' time, she has another problem, then she can see you again. So it's not like it has to be the same continuous session. It could be something completely different, because at the end of the day, healing can never be linear. It's always up and down, right?
Exactly. And then people have different things which come up.
Yeah.
I could heal someone for psychological condition like stress and overwhelm, and then 2 months down the road they have an infection and want to heal faster. So yeah, that's possible.
And when somebody comes to you, let's say for the same, what you're saying is like a mental problem or something to do with their mental health, they have to first believe that this is going to work, right? Or is there a possibility for them to come saying, I don't know if this is like...
So that's an interesting part. We call that receptivity, right?
Okay.
And receptivity is important. But receptivity does not mean belief. Because if you've never tried it and never experienced it, how are you going to actually believe in it, right?
Very true.
Like in my case, if someone told me, you have to believe in pranic healing before I try it, I would be the furthest person away from that person, right? So as long as the person has an openness and a willingness to try, then that's adequate. And then in my own experience, what happens is the person experiences symptomatic changes or some improvement, then gradually they become more and more receptive, or they believe it more and more.
Yeah.
But it's a process, right? As long as the person starts with, look, I want to get better and I want to try it out. That's adequate.
And you use your physical hands to do all the...
I use my hands, but I do not touch.
Yeah.
Right?
Because if you're healing the energetic body, you don't need to actually touch the physical body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And is there like, I practice Reiki, and in Reiki there are these symbols that you kind of draw out onto your hands or onto the person's body, and then you send them the Reiki healing, or you send it to yourself. I mainly heal myself or my children. I don't actually give any Reiki to anyone else. And but with pranic healing, is there any sort of like symbols or any sort of like with Reiki you also call the angels to come and help you? Yeah.
So my assumption is that those symbols are called because the calling of those symbols and the calling of the angels is a technique to be able to bring in energy and direct energy, right? We do that in pranic healing without using symbols, without having to call on the angels. You can call on the angels, that's a personal choice. But there are certain techniques given where you can absorb energy or prana from the environment and then direct that energy or prana to the affected area in the person.
And let's say if I came to you and I didn't know what was the actual affected area in my body, would you be able to detect
in some
and
cases,
diagnose it?
In some cases, yes, but not diagnose it.
Okay.
Those are two things. So for instance, let's say you feel okay, and I do an energy scan and I would be like, okay, it feels as though the energy in your throat is imbalanced. But that doesn't mean I'm able to diagnose and say, oh, you have a thyroid condition or something like that, right? So I cannot give medical diagnosis, I can only give energy diagnosis. So I can say this part is imbalanced, this part has energy blockage. But one of the things we also have to remember is you have temporary energy blockage and then you have long-standing energy blockage, right? One of the principles of pranic healing is the body is always trying to heal itself, right? So if the body is always trying to heal itself and you have an energy imbalance, the body is going to try and fix it on its own, right? However, if this energy imbalance persists over a period of time, that's when it physicalizes into a problem, right? So some energy imbalances are just temporary and they have no negative effect on the person's health, right?
It's a bit like when you say in medicine, you have chronic condition and you have an acute condition. Whereas with an acute condition, it is very necessary sometimes to rush to the hospital, to go and see a doctor, to go and get a diagnosis, to go and get some medication, antibiotics or whatever it is. But with a chronic condition is something that I guess you cannot really rush to your doctor about, because this is chronically manifested in your body over time.
Exactly.
And I think with pranic healing, it's a very similar thing where you could have an acute condition and you could help solve that immediately.
Exactly.
But then there could be a chronic condition which will take a lot more time to figure out and solve, right?
Exactly. And then in that, you also have to factor in that there are causative factors. There's certain causes which have resulted to the chronic condition, right? So while you heal the person, you also have to figure out what are the causative factors. Now, some causative factors can be healed.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, if the person is experiencing long-standing acidity, right, or gastrointestinal reflux disorder, right, the causative factor could be stress and pent-up emotions, right, or anger, right. So you could heal that along with normalizing the acid production and regulation in the stomach, right? But some causative factors are really upon the person, right? So in chronic conditions, the healing is really two ways. The healer plays their part, and then the patient also has to play their part.
But I think that's with everything, right? With anything you do, it is a full 360. So I cannot expect to come and see you and get healed, you know, all the way around, unless I go home and I do the work myself also, if I actually put in the practice of all the other aspects, because it can never be just one thing.
Exactly.
That we need.
Exactly.
And
in some cases, we're able to make recommendations of things which they can do on their own.
Like?
Certain breathing practices,
Mm-hmm.
Certain meditation practices, people who have long-standing emotional problems, certain forgiveness practices. You can make basic recommendations on diet.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, if it needs more, then they need to go to a dietitian or a nutritionist. But there are basic recommendations we can make to support that person as you do healing for them.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and it can be like a maintenance tool. So like, let's say I'm treating someone. This is common. I get this often. Patients who have fatigue, like
Mm-hmm.
physical fatigue, lethargy, lack of motivation, lack of drive, excitement for life, mentally feel very tired, burnt out.
And that's quite common.
Very common.
Yeah.
Difficulty sleeping, racing mind, right? Like just can't stop thinking. So they end up spending so much time on their phone just to distract themselves or whatever.
To increase the dopamine.
Right, I guess to increase the dopamine. This is very common. So within 3 or 5 sessions, we're able to help this person significantly, right? But then I would recommend certain breathing and meditation practice for them as maintenance, because there was something which caused that in the first place.
But
right?
do you manage to actually get to the cause?
In many cases, the cause is usually emotional in origin. Right?
Yeah, I think with everything though, right?
We live in a stressful world, and people have a lot of pressure and stress and that. So, but usually the purpose of the meditation is to help the person manage the stress, to manage the pressure, right? If that is managed better, the person's going to be healthier.
You know, when you say that we have a lot of stress in our world, but everyone has stress. Everyone's going to have stress. It's about how do we deal with that stress?
Exactly.
And what are the things that you use? Like you were saying, the breathing, the meditation.
Yeah.
These are your like homeworks.
Yeah.
Take home and do these as
Yeah.
your practice, because stress is something that can come
Yeah.
anytime. You know, you get the phone call of something and you're just like, your body just goes into like almost like a shutdown mode.
In pranic healing, we understand stress as an energy, actually.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Not so much as something that experienced in the mind, more so something that has an energy, or something that's in energy form, which affects the chakras, which affects the psychological functioning of the person. So when someone is highly stressed and they come for treatment, I work on the energy body, but I'm actually removing stress energy in their aura. And stress energy is energetically, it's real. There's matter around it, right? And the best way to describe this is, for many people, they experience this. They feel good at home. They leave home in the morning. They feel pretty good. They get into the office and they feel heaviness. They feel their mind starts racing and all of that. And a lot of the time, it's just because the office is filled with so much stress energy. It's an actual energy, right? And so, in many cases, if people own the business or whatever, we can actually show them certain techniques where they can actually improve the energetic condition of the space they live in as well.
How?
Because that has a big impact. How? There are methods which I cannot completely reveal here, right?
Your secret methods.
I mean, they're taught within the system of the school,
okay,
right? But I'll give you an example. I was healing someone, right? During COVID, this was a girl who was having a lot of exam stress and exam pressure, right? And during COVID, remember, all the kids were studying in their rooms, right? Their bedrooms were their workspaces, their recreational spaces, and their rest spaces. So when I did healing for this girl, while I was doing the healing, I got a sense that the room she was in was also causing the problem. So I healed her, and then I healed the energy of the room. And then the next day the mom called me and she says, we have a completely different girl.
Wow.
Right?
Amazing.
So yeah, that can play a big part.
Yeah. No, because do you know Bruce Lipton?
Yes.
And his work, it's amazing, his work. And what he says is the environment is what actually causes most of the issues in the body. And if you can change the environment you're in, you can change the physical matter in the body too.
Yeah.
And I've definitely seen that. I've changed my environment, and that's helped me change my physical matter. But in saying that, stress is not only physical, it's emotional. It is definitely an emotional thing.
Yeah.
Could you give us another example of somebody who you've helped with pranic healing?
Yeah, I mean, I have many cases. I think the best way for me to do it is showcase the range of treatments we can do, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, healing is not only about doing the big conditions, right? Like, for instance, I have a 4-year-old son, right? Just the way you were telling me, your daughter had an accident. He was on those climbing frame things the other day, and he fell down and he grazed himself, right? And you could see the top layer of the skin was off, right? And it's painful for a child, right? And at that time I did a 7 to 10 minute treatment, and there's a protocol which we have in the pranic healing system. It's called instantaneous healing of a fresh wound.
Oh,
right?
wow. Okay.
So I did this treatment, and then he settled down and he carried on playing, and then 10 minutes later I did the treatment again. Then an hour later I went to give him a bath. Now, when there's an open wound,
oh my God,
it's difficult, right?
Yeah.
But he was completely okay. The water could run over the wound.
Wow.
Right? So it means that in the 2 healings, a certain layer of skin was able to form on the wound, which protected him, right? So I know for sure, since I've become a father, I've appreciated healing much more, right? And it's just, and as I say, it's for simple cases like teething, right? Tummy bug, right? Has a difficult day at school and comes back and is dysregulated, right? So for simple cases, it's so good, right? Then I shared, I see so many people who have the emotional conditions.
Yeah.
One of the cases which is quite close to me is around COVID. There was a maybe 65-year-old gentleman who had knee problem, right? And was diagnosed with arthritis of the knee. And every person this person spoke to was like, surgery, right? And they didn't want to do surgery, right? So they were open to healing. So I treated this person for about 3 months, and 5 years on, and they haven't had a need for surgery, right? It doesn't mean the cartilage is completely regenerated, but it means the pain was managed much better, the mobility in the person's knee was improved substantially, the person's just general life improved so much. So for me, that one is quite a dear case.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
This podcast was created to inspire and connect with people. If you are liking the content of this podcast, hit the subscribe button, like, follow, and share this platform. Lots of love.
So Sagar, can you walk me through a typical pranic healing session?
Okay, so a healing session could, number one, it could either be in person or it could be remote, right? So there are people who want to meet me in person, and that's okay. There are people who are very comfortable experiencing healing remote. So they would be at home on their sofa, on their bed, and we would connect on WhatsApp or Zoom, right? So that's the contact or the engagement I have with the person, right? During the healing session, they don't need to do anything. They just relax. In most cases, lie down or sit comfortably, okay? I would do an energy scan to figure out what's going on in the energy body. I would then apply the healing protocol on their energy body, on their chakras, based on the condition they came in with. For simple condition, this could be anything from 10 to 15 minutes. For chronic condition, anything between 35, 40 minutes to even an hour, right? And then what typically happens is within 10 to 15 minutes, the person is so relaxed in the healing, they've fallen asleep, right? Which is actually really good because they're just more receptive when they're asleep and they can relax, right? And then I would complete the healing, and then I would wake them up and tell them the healing is done, get a sense of how they feel compared to how they felt before the healing. In some cases, you see like drastic symptomatic changes. If someone comes with, let's say, back pain, then you know, before the healing session, you get them to check like, can you touch your toes, or how much do you move, and then you feel your back, or what movements are restrictive. Then after the healing, you go through that again, right, to check, is there symptomatic improvement, has the pain reduced? So that's typically how a healing session would look like, right? Anything between 35 minutes, 1 hour.
Okay.
Right.
And how does someone also reach out to you? Let's say if I want to get a healing session, how do I find you?
Most people just call me.
Okay, so it's more word of mouth, right?
Yeah, it's almost completely word of mouth,
yeah,
right?
Because that's how I found you.
Yeah, because when someone experiences something helpful and their life improves, they want their friends and family to get better. So
yeah,
word of mouth is the main thing.
And for me, I think I've heard of many healing modalities. I've learned them, listened to different people, and I find that they all have differences, but I feel like they all have a center point, which is, I personally think it's the chakras that brings everything back together, and some people call it the energy centers also. But and it's interesting because one of my other guests, Lana, she actually used pranic healing, and her husband is also a pranic healer, and she used it a lot after her loss and for her own healing. And I've heard of many of my friends who've used it, and they've really transformed their life. So, and I myself have never ever done a pranic healing session. My question to you is, because when I did Reiki, and when my Reiki master, she lives in Bulgaria, when she did Reiki to me, after she did Reiki to me, she gave me like almost like another diagnosis, right? But like you as a pranic healer, can you tap into somebody's and you find, like, you might find something else that you feel like this person
needs to work with? Look, you see, even within pranic healing, you have different people practicing as healers, right? Some become more skillful with practice. Some become more sensitive with either it's something that they're made up of, that they're just more sensitive, that they're more intuitive. So yes, you can, but it's more like on a personal level, right? Different healers have different mastery of skills, and also different additional qualities, right? Like whether it's intuition, whether it's the ability to see. So it happens in some cases with people I work with. I will be working on something and I will get a sense of something else. And then when we address that, it makes big shifts, but it's not in all cases, right? In some cases that comes through.
And do you believe that when you start learning to be a pranic healer, let's say if I wanted to study pranic healing, does that mean I get an energy upgrade? And do you believe in an energy upgrade?
Yes, but not like climbing from here to the top of the house, right? It's gradual, right? Yeah. And the reason is gradual is when you heal someone, when you direct energy to someone, the energy passes through you. When it comes from the environment, we talk about air prana. So there's a lot of prana in the air, which is what we direct to the patients. So the prana comes in, it goes through you, and then to the other person. But as the energy is going through you, you are also partially energized, right? So I found in my own experience that as you heal other people, you experience healing as well.
100%.
Right.
100%. In fact, I said that in my first episode of this season, that when you heal others, you heal yourself too. And it always happens like that. And talking about healing yourself, what do you do to protect your own energy from, at the end of the day, yes, you do get the healing, but then you can also easily absorb.
I try to I have a spiritual practice which I follow, which is still within the system put together by Master Chokoksui, who's the founder of Pranic Healing. So that helps to energize me. That helps to keep me spiritually connected or grounded. And then, just other things, you have to take care of yourself. You have to exercise. You have to try and eat well. You have to regulate your thoughts and emotions, right? And then as you do all those things, generally what happens is your aura becomes stronger, brighter, more vibrant. That's actually a protection mechanism. People always tell me, I want to protect myself from this, from this, from this. But the external influences are strong on us if our aura is not that strong, right? But as we take care of ourselves and our aura becomes stronger, our energy field becomes stronger, that's your natural protection.
Yeah, so you would not need anything else, right?
Yeah.
And have you ever had an incident where you've had someone come to you for pranic healing and you've had to tell them, look, I'm really sorry, but I cannot help you, and turn them away?
Yeah, there are two things which come to mind. Number one is someone came for treatment where it was a strange case, right? And they wanted me to manipulate their child so their child could behave in a certain way to them.
Lord.
And I was like, no, that's unethical. That's not okay. So I had to say sorry. But I've also had cases where it's not me turning away, but after a few sessions, you realize that the healing is not helping this person. And so this person, so it was like, I'm sorry, I'm working on you. I'm not able to help you. You may need to explore other ways, whether it's nutritional support or whether you actually need to go for a physiotherapy session or a chiropractic session. So I think it's important to understand that pranic healing is very effective, but it also has its limitations.
Yeah. I mean, everything has its limitations, right? Yeah. And maybe something that will work for me may not necessarily work for somebody else. Like,
exactly.
I always tell that to everyone. I'm like, look, just because a vegan diet works for me, you know, eating 10 carrots a day or juicing 10 carrots a day works for me does not necessarily mean it's going to work the same for you.
Exactly.
And it could, it could be to do with your own insulin level and how you actually glycate that.
Yeah, exactly.
So who has been your most influential teacher or mentor?
Wow, I've had a lot of people. So I like reading a lot and studying a lot. So there's a lot of teachers who have had a big impact on my life. But for sure, the biggest impact is the founder of Pranic Healing. His name is Master Choa Kok Sui.
Where is he from?
He's from the Philippines.
Okay.
He's no longer in his body. He passed on in 2007. And I've never met him. The only access I've had to him is his teachings and his techniques. But that in itself feels like he's speaking to me, you know, like personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he is my my spiritual teacher and the biggest influence of my life.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you would like to ask me?
I'm curious to know what your own healing journey looked like, because you overcame odds, right? Like everything was stacked against you healing, and now you look really healthy.
Well, I think you would be able to check my aura and tell me more about it. Yes,
Yeah.
I think a lot of what you said resonated with me because of that, because especially when you said in the beginning that your energetic body, if it's out of line, then your physical body also goes out of line. And I feel like that's exactly where I went wrong, is that I felt like physically I was doing everything right, but energetically I was doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
And this is why I stumbled upon my diagnosis. And just realigning that energy is what has really brought me into my, into me being me today.
You being healthy.
And being healthy and healed and well and practicing it on a daily basis and just living with that awareness and living with purpose and authenticity is, I think that's my driving force, is that I'm always making sure that I am on the right track.
Yeah.
Ever since, it's like, you kind of, when you're born, you make these promises. I feel like you make this, you come to this world, you make these promises to God or to whoever, and you come and you say, okay, this is my purpose and this is how I'm going to live.
Yeah.
And then you all go off track.
Yeah.
And then you get a sickness or an illness, and that illness is there not for any other reason, but it's there to just pull you back into your track. And once you're back onto your track, it should be there as a reminder, not as a fear, not as what if it comes back? No, but as a reminder that this happened to me because of such and such. And now I'm back on my track, I'm back on my purpose, and it's a good place to be, and it's the right place to be. And it's almost like feeling just amazing to be yourself.
That is so powerful, and that's something we talk about in the courses, is sometimes a disease is actually your teacher.
Yes.
What you have to endure and the introspection you go through when you pick up that disease actually helps you as a soul to evolve, to grow, and align with what you're actually supposed to do. So that is so interesting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for today. I really think that this was an amazing episode, and I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone else is going to learn a lot from what you've shared today.
Great.
And I would love you to I will put all your details in the episode, so that whoever wants to reach out to you for a pranic healing session, they can. And I think maybe I should also reach out to you and get a pranic healing session from you too.
Sure.
But really appreciate you coming here today and sharing all this wisdom with us.
Thank you, Puja, for creating this space.
Thank you.